Welcome to My Love of Life Energy. I'm Anna Scott, your host. I love beautiful, rich conversations that reveal the truth, beauty, and uniqueness of each person I meet, and I'm honored to share them with you. Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to my podcast, My Love of Life Energy. And today I have a guest that I know nothing, well, I know just a little bit about, Dallisa Hocking, who found me, and you're a psychic and medium of fifth generation, is what I understand. Is that all true?
It is. It's on my dad's side of the family.
Really, your dad's side. That's interesting. All the mothers of the dads, or was your dad a psychic too?
My dad gets intuitive downloads, but primarily it was his mother. And then it went to her mother's mother. So, yeah, it's at least to my great great grandmother, Belle, who obviously I never met, but I hear stories about her and her being on the farm. And she would see apparitions working on the farm alongside her husband, and he would come in for dinner. She would say, "Oh, guess who was out on the farm with you today?" So
Oh,
it's
you're
just,
kidding.
it's been just topic of conversation in my family for decades and decades.
How freeing.
Seriously, I am so blessed that I grew up in a family that was open to it and wanted to talk about it. And so much so, I used to sit with my grandmother in her living room, and I ended up having my own live stage show in Las Vegas. And I designed the set to look like her living room. And I would bring people up on stage and read them. And it was just like I was sitting in her living room.
Oh, you're kidding. How fun is that? How
Yeah,
long have you been reading and doing this for people?
this was not on my bingo card for my life. And nothing against it, right? But it really came in out of the blue in August of 2015. So at that point, I was working at a business school and I was a matchmaker and a dating coach, and I owned my own company doing that line of work. And overnight, I had gone up to New York to the Omega Institute to attend a workshop on synchronicity. I mean, how ironic can my story be? So I go to this workshop on synchronicity and how everything happens for a reason. And the last night of my trip, I ended up staying at a friend's house who so happened to have a second home in the woods near the Omega Institute, kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I go over there and we're eating dinner and catching up. And the phone rings and his family calls to let him know that his Aunt Barbara had died unexpectedly that day. She had fallen down a flight of stairs. Of course, I feel terrible for my friend. I don't know his family at all. Give my condolences to him. I go to bed. He goes upstairs, goes to bed. And I don't really think anything else of it. Um, Except Aunt Barbara came to me while I was sleeping that night, and I could see her in the astral dream state. And through telepathy, she never moved her mouth, but I could see her. She said, "Please tell my nephew I'm okay. I made it to the other side."
Mm.
And like I could see her hair, her face, everything. So the next morning, I'm waking up going, "Oh my God," you know, and I go into the kitchen and I tell Peter what happened. And he's like, "What did she look like?" And I describe her hair and her facial features. And he said, "That's her." I'm like, "Okay,
Oh,
message
wow.
delivered." Yeah. So I fly back to Texas where I was living at the time. And yeah, I started just wondering what else was out there. If Aunt Barbara, who I didn't know, could come through, what else was I not tuned into that I could get? And simply put, my beta test that I did in 2015 was selecting people that I knew but didn't know what was happening in their life at that moment, but I felt like they might be interested in me channeling for them. So I got some beta testers and I just had their name in mind. And I would sometimes pull up their photo and just look at their photo and say their name. And then I would write down everything I was seeing clairvoyantly, hearing, feeling in the physical body, dump it all out on a piece of paper. And I would do this while I would be listening to binaural beats. And, that sound file was, I think, adjusting my brain waves in such a way that I could bring forward information really easily. And so then I would get on the phone, give them all the information. They would say, how did you know that? Nobody knows that about me. I'm like, oh, perfect. It's working. Like I was just excited that was it was working. So that's where it all started. And I've just kept pulling the thread all of these years. And now we're coming up on almost year 11. So it's been quite a journey.
What I read in your website, which I love, because I have a preference because I'm human, is that it's not to give people's answers, but you're really teaching people to find their own guidance, which is what I'm 100% agreement with. So can you say more about that?
Yeah, for years I was making a lot of predictions. Then the predictions started to get pretty kind of fear based because I was seeing all of these different things about the world and what was coming and how different systems were going to be dismantling. So I was seeing all these things and I'm like, well, I need to warn people, right? So I would say all the things. And one day out of the blue, Spirit was like, listen, you are talking about all these predictions, but you're creating a lot of fear and panic. And there's no like extra part of what you're saying that helps people understand like what to do with it next. So they said you're going to move kind of out of this predictive dismantling phase and you're going to go into what they called the activation phase. And so my work has really shifted. And now, if I do share a prediction, which sometimes I do, and people ask for them, if I go on, different shows and things like that, is I always make sure I share things about self-care and what you can do and not getting kind of caught in a fear and a panic energy. And so I really work to align those together if I am going to share a prediction, because there are some heavy ones out there that I've made. But most of my content these days don't even have a prediction that goes with it. Um, for example, I have a live stream where I do astrology with an astrologer named Scott Tajirian, and he's amazing. But neither one of us really want to sit there and talk about the predictive aspect of it. So we look at the chart and we talk about what's the energy that's happening right now for all of us, because I kind of see astrology as neutral. There's some good aspects, some not so great aspects, but how you work with it doesn't have to be good or bad. It can be neutral. And so we try to look at the aspects and the planets and ask the bigger question of, okay, well, if we see that these are the ingredients on the table, how do we want to work with this in our own life? And so we talk about it more from a life and spiritual coaching perspective rather than this square on Tuesday is going to get everybody yelling at each other. So even the way that I speak and my tone, I think has just really changed over the years.
What do you love about doing this? What is it about this work that you love?
It feels mission driven, meaning when I look at my own astrology chart, for example, I see all over my chart where this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel it's incredibly important for each of us to leave the earth better than how we found it.
Mm.
And my goal is that each time I do a live stream or I make a piece of content or I write an email, I want to leave that person reading it or consuming that content better than how they came in. And maybe it's not life changing, each time that they see something, but could they change their perspective? Could there be something that they get more curious about? Curiosity is one of my key words for me and my life. And I feel like if the world had more curiosity and if we had more curiosity about ourselves, the whole world would change, because curiosity invites a conversation. It allows us to come together and see where we have commonality or where we disagree, because we're not going to always agree. But if we're not in agreement, can we aim to use curiosity and that vibration, that mindset, to try to understand something from the other person's perspective? So, yeah, I came here to ask some really good questions, I think.
So I'm curious about curiosity. And it seems like we say that word, and I'm curious what curiosity means to you. And like for somebody who's listening to this, because people can think they're curious, but they might not be really curious. So that's why I'd like to explore, what does it mean to you? Like, what do you see about it? And how do you know when you're really curious?
I like to think of curiosity as a space. Curiosity to me feels spacious. So I know when I am in a frequency or a mindset of being curious, when there is room to breathe, symbolically, literally, because I approach curiosity as I don't have all of the answers. And the right question at the right moment can literally change someone's life. It can lead to an epiphany they've never had before. It can lead to a breakthrough between people. But if we approach it like, oh, yeah, I'm curious, sure, I'll listen to what they have to say, but we're not really open, then I wouldn't necessarily call that curiosity. To me, curiosity is you have the willingness and the mindset that you actually want to hear what the other person thinks, and you're trying to see it from their understanding or their perspective. Not that you have to change your mind, but at least you're willing to hear them out. And to truly be an active listener, you have to have that breathing space in the question, in the conversation. Otherwise, it's just likely you defending yourself or defending what you believe. Curiosity is more of the exchange between you and another person, you and a group, or an exchange between you and your own inner thoughts, programs, and stories, and getting curious about why it is that you're doing the things that you're doing, that you're trying to adjust in your own life.
Hmm. I love that answer. I mean, um, I can feel the spaciousness in it. And there's something about the energy of willingness that I have never really played with before, like the willingness energy. And that's such a great, um, it's such a fun energy. Willingness. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I do. Willingness and curiosity could change literally every conversation we have with ourselves or with another human being.
It's, I've never, I don't think I've really used that word before,
Mhm.
a willingness. Oh, and I really can feel it from like the divine will. Yeah. How do you tap into your own willingness? How do you know it?
Ooh, I'm so sensitive to energy that I can feel it in my body. I can feel when I'm closed down. I can feel when I have that willingness within my mind and my heart and in my body. And I know we all have that ability to feel within ourselves. And I think part of it is also honoring the truth of it, right? And so if we feel like we need to have a conversation with someone and we want to approach it with willingness and curiosity, great. But if you're doing that, let's say at the end of the day, and you've had a chaotic day, or there's been things that have been pulling you in different directions, you may want to check in with yourself and just ask yourself, do I feel like I have a willingness and an open curiosity to have this conversation tonight? And if you feel really closed off to it or you feel worn out, then I would also trust in the timing of that, not to continuously postpone something just because you don't want to have the conversation. But if you really are feeling like there are things that need to be discussed with someone else, trust in how you're feeling with that and notice how you're approaching the conversation as well, because we're human, like you said earlier. And on some days, we will feel more of that willingness and space. space within
That's
ourselves. Yeah.
it's such a willingness. It has such an opening in it
Mm.
that I've never experienced before. But to know my willingness, hmm, like to know it, to have an embodied experience of it is such a gift.
And even asking yourself, am I willing to have this conversation right now? Because you may not be the initiator of a conversation. It may be someone else that is trying to get you to have that conversation. And I don't think we should ever feel pressured to go into a conversation that we don't feel energetically ready for. But I think asking ourselves, like, do we have that willingness in that moment? Is this a time that I have the ability to do that? I think it could shift a lot.
It's so interesting. I mean, whatever minutes I'm on in this conversation, it- it's about conversation for you, which is such a deep alignment with me about having a conversation with a human being and how you have it. And why is that so important to you? Like that, the conversation. Like, why do you love a conversation and what do you see about it?
I think it's the magic thread that holds us all together. I really do. I've always loved communication in all forms, but there's something, and I have chills coming up my body as I say this out loud. I feel like there really is magic that is contained in a conversation. And it's not just the two people having it, it's the people that get to listen to it or observe the conversation and what they get out of it as well. Um, I think if people were having more real conversations with active listening, I think so many different relationships would change that would ripple out into the world. And I think it would lead ultimately to more compassion in the world. I think many people, and I know I've done it myself, get stuck in the story of who I am. And, I used to work in the corporate world, and I remember going into different events and handing out my business card and so proud to have that title. And I think I really missed the point during those years as I look back, because I think, we see so much in hindsight. I think I would have approached those times in my life with more of the curiosity and willingness, where I would have initiated more conversations with people, not to try to see like what that networking could lead to business wise, but actually have more thoughtful conversations with the people that I came across, to ask them, like, what matters to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, how are you when you get home at night after you've worked a 12-hour day? Like, what are you like? What matters to you? What gets you going in the morning? Because we're so much alike than we are different. And I think if we understood more of our commonality and we felt each other heart to heart, everything would change.
I feel a lot of love that you like hold your conversations in. Like it's grounded in love. Is that a truth or am I just making that up and projecting it?
No, I have a lot of love in my heart for every conversation. I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I do aim to bring love and infuse love into conversations that I do have. And sometimes it's messy. Sometimes the words don't come out like I want them to, or they're not received like I hope they are received. But I think that's also part of the journey, which is surrender. I can go in with the best of intention, and try to fumble my way through some of those conversations. But ultimately, I've also learned that how the other person takes it or what they do with that isn't really personal. And I try not to take things personally, the good and the bad. Um, Part of the Four Agreements, that book by Don Miguel Ruiz. So I really try not to take what the other person does personally and just let it be and understand that sometimes there isn't anything you can say that will change the dynamics of something you may currently find yourself in. But if we lead with open-ended questions and we approach it, as we've said, with that curiosity, maybe you might find out in a conversation that you're going to have a little bit more about what makes that other person human and what they're going through.
The other night I had this conversation with my partner, and because there was a circumstance that wasn't what I would want in my life or what I would agree with. And we had this conversation, and what I saw was the power of intention in a conversation. And I realized my intention was to get us back to love, to come back, and I had to understand where he was coming from, but that was my intention. And I could feel the willingness, or that, like, so it's just fun to look at it from your lens, because but I see the power of intention, and I'm wondering if you have that same thing
I've
when you're in a
noticed, yeah, I've noticed when there's conversations that feel very, very important, I think having an intention is incredibly important because the conversation may veer. It's a living, breathing thing. But if you can keep the intention at the center of it, then you can always come back to the intention that you said. And maybe at the beginning of the conversation, you can each share your intention of what you have in mind for the conversation and what that key word is. Um, and allow it to dance. Allow it to
how did you
dance.
how did you get interested in conversations? Where did this come up?
I, in my corporate world, worked in a lot of roles that were communication driven. So I have an event planning background. So I have to have things in that sense very organized and have to be a great communicator in order for all of the parts to talk to each other. So I got naturally really good at it. My North Node is in Leo in the third house of communications, in case anyone out there follows astrology. And that means that I came in to be as my friend Scott, the astrologer, would say, the queen, which is Leo, queen of curiosity.
Hmm.
And I love that. And the Leo energy is filled with a lot of heart and a lot of courage. And so I love that I can take what I've done in the corporate world and apply it now to our everyday lives and the things that we have to go through sometimes.
But the it's beautiful. Did you ever read the work of Fernando Flores in your
No.
about speech acts? And anyway, I figured you might in your journey, but you might want to check it out. It's really powerful because he talks about making promises and requests and declines,
Ooh, that would be
and
really interesting.
how do you make a clear request so that people can hear you?
Oh, yeah, I
And
need to
so that
look that up.
it's really fun. It changed my life as far as communication, because I would hear that people would speak in generalities, and as soon as possible. And I'm like, well, that means something completely different to every human being. But 5 p.m. on Friday is very clear. Pacific.
Right.
Uh,
I love that. I love that. No, thank you. I appreciate the tip.
oh well, it's a great. I figured you might. I didn't know. Anyway,
Mm.
but it's a great. So how else do you share your communication or this with people? I saw that you do psychic readings, but you also hold a school, it seems.
Yeah, I do development for anyone looking to deepen their spiritual connection, intuition. I have a psychic certification. I have remote viewing level 1 certification. So, a couple of different classes that I teach. Right now, I'm going through a class on guided imagery.
Hmm.
And so
What's that about?
I'm planning on bringing that, infusing that in. So, the guided imagery is the use of our own imagination to bring about images or even an inner advisor that you can work with. And ideally, you would have someone, a practitioner, walking you through it. But I could, say something to you about, what is it that you want to achieve? Do you have a goal or is there a roadblock? And then we go through a series of open-ended, very open-ended questions about imagery that you see in your mind's eye and working with that imagery to get to where you want to go and ultimately dissolve different roadblocks. And it can be used for a variety of things. Some people are familiar with it, maybe not the exact protocol, but with athletes that visualize winning the game and how they're going to win the game, and then they end up performing better that with the
Yeah,
visualization than without. Mhm.
I love imagery. I I started doing psychic work 2 years ago, and I close my eyes, and what I get to see is the funnest thing I have ever had. And I don't know about you, but what I love to do is share with people, have them see what they see, not what I see and give it to them, but like, let's you look and see what you see. And then they think I'm a great psychic because I
Well,
had them see it.
yeah, I would say that that absolutely is a big piece of being a great psychic is having someone see it, sense it, feel it for themselves. Because if you're just going to a psychic to have 10 things rattled off, that's what I used to do when I was first starting out. And I would have the same people come back like every month, every other month, and it would be a lot of the same questions. I
Hmm.
didn't catch on to it till years later where I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then realizing, oh, wait a second, we're not actually talking about what's happening underneath all of these things. So yeah, psychic work is very, very fascinating. And the imagery, being a clairvoyant, I understand. And the things that come to us are next level. And we all get to develop that gift. It's not just for a few select people.
No, I think I've seen when working with people is to have them see what they see. It's like they can't unsee it. That's the
Mhm.
gift. Like that's the beauty of it. They get to have it. That's what I really appreciated about your website or what I read was that you're a champion of people having their own sovereignty, which
Mhm.
was a very specific word, which is a word that I resonate with. And what does that mean to you, that sovereignty? What is that for you?
Yeah, for me, sovereignty is a celebration of everything that makes you who you are
Mm,
and honoring everything that makes you what you are
mm,
and not feeling like you ever have to put on a mask or perform for anyone or anything, that
mm,
you can just celebrate who you are.
mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you study the gene keys at all? Have you
I
heard of it?
have I have my gene keys mapped somewhere in my inbox.
No. Okay. Well, the
I'm
only
a
reason
manifester.
okay. Well, that from the human design, what's beautiful is that you just talked about this prophecy. And one of them is that the human being, there's this, what it's coming down to is that we're going to awaken to our natural self and be our whole self. And everybody gets to be their unique self. And that's what I hear you saying is that, yes, this is coming. This is what I'm doing. I'm a champion for this thing to have happen, which
Mhm.
is beautiful.
Right
You
on
know,
time.
yeah. Like, well, I think you're a little ahead of it if you want to know the truth. I think you're at the front end of it. That's my opinion.
That's okay. I'd rather be on the front end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you're an early adopter, as I would say.
Mhm.
Is that it?
I've heard that before over the years.
Yeah,
I'm always kind of a little bit ahead of schedule.
that's good for you. Good for you. Lisa, we're coming to the end. Where do people find you? Where's your
The
website?
the best place to connect is over at my website at spiritandspark.com, all spelled out.
Great. Well, it'll be in the notes. It's just been lovely to talk with you.
Same. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.